Well, today is National Fentanyl Awareness Day. It comes as we're learning startling new details about the youngest victims of the fentanyl crisis, children. A new study found 40 infants were killed by fentanyl over the course of a year, more than twice as many toddlers, and more than 1,500 children and teens in total became victims of the nationwide fentanyl epidemic. Our guest today has spent most of his career warning children about the dangers of fentanyl and other drugs. Rocky Herron is a former DEA agent who now runs drug education programming for schools in San Diego. Thank God for your work. So, Rocky, you've talked to hundreds of thousands of children about this. What is the critical message you want them, you want their families to hear?
Hi, Kelly. Look, in spite of all the pain and suffering that we're talking about, our popular culture still tells kids that drug use is normal and it's just part of being young, and it makes it seem like everyone's doing it. So for 16 years, I've been going into schools and telling kids that's not true. And trying to fight back against the movies and the music videos and the TikTok videos. And I point out that it's their choices. You know, no one's going to give them happiness. No one's going to give them success. And they need to be thinking hard about the choices they make.
That's so important. Is the U.S. doing enough to protect children? You read these stats and it's so hard. You almost have to disconnect yourself from these horrifying stories. Are we doing enough to protect our kids from this crisis?
No. Simply, we're not. It's a colossal moral failing of our society that we're not warning all of our kids every year about the truth of this. You know, we can't change their decisions, but we certainly as a society can change our kids' perceptions about the drug risk, and we're not even beginning to do that.
So I'm assuming the first line of defense, messaging, and you know this is our youngest, most vulnerable, and they have access to this drug. So what do we do to not only get the word out, but then stop the crisis, stop these drugs from getting into their hands?
Well, while we're trying to fight the cartels and deal with the production of the drug, I think we need to start fighting the next generation of users. You know, if we can somehow begin to push back against young kids entering drug consumption, you know, maybe eventually we'll have a way out. But sadly, that's not something we're talking about right now. There's no national conversation. There's no mandate for school-based drug prevention education. So I and many others are out there doing that battle, waiting for society to catch up.
Well, it's so important, and we're so happy that you are doing it. Is there a key piece? You're on the ground, you're talking with students and their families, a key piece we're missing in the national conversation about fentanyl that can help families?
Well, we're not honest about the problem. I mean, the problem starts with Americans wanting to use it and buy it. And I think parents feel that their families are too good. I made the mistake of thinking I was too good as a parent. You know, no family is safe from this. And we need to start having an honest and constant conversation with our kids and our families about the risk of this.
Is this a drug that gets laced with other drugs? How does this wiggle in if maybe you know your child is using, you don't know what they're using? How do you talk to them about it? And where does this drug rear its head?
Well, it's rearing its head everywhere. I mean, we have the counterfeit prescription drugs that are claiming all sorts of young people and adults through poisonings. Fentanyl is being mixed into cocaine and methamphetamine. What I try to teach the kids, the whole era of drug experimentation is over. That whole notion of recreational drug use is over. Anytime you use drugs today, you're gambling with your life, and it's just not worth the risk.
All right, we've got about 30 seconds. What's your biggest warning to parents?
That you're not safe. Doesn't matter where you live. This is a problem that cuts across all demographic boundaries, all socioeconomic boundaries, all racial boundaries. This is a problem that's attacking at every level of our society. And I want parents to step up and make themselves a safe place to have the conversation with their kids. I mean, prevention has to start in the home. We're trying to get into schools to give kids something in the schools, but it really needs to happen at home, and it's not. I'll do parent events and nobody shows up, you know, and too many parents are still thinking that, I guess, that they're not at risk from this.
Critical information. Rocky Herron, we so appreciate you being here.
No, thank you, Kelly.